making the transition from Nebraska to Iowa. It's kind of cool. They've got Dakota City and then South Sioux City, which is actually on the Nebraska side. And then as we cross the Missouri River, which we're going to do here in just a minute, we then end up in Iowa. Very cool. There's the Missouri River. Very, very full. So there are lots of windmills here in Iowa. It's become a very green state. All right, well, we are pretty close to my hometown now. We're actually just a little bit north of Ames, and we're in a section which is very near and dear to my heart. It is Little Wall Lake. And Little Wall Lake is a place where, as a kid, I would go and water ski. I actually have quite a few lakes here in Iowa, and this one is frozen over at the moment. But I'm going to drive you guys around to the other side where we actually used to launch our boat. And quick little story, my dad had a Chevrolet Silverados that came out, and we had a small speedboat that we would pull behind his truck. My dad was backing up the boat into the water, and I think the lake had been a little bit lower that year, and so as he put the parking brake on and then you detach the boat from the trailer, the truck was actually parked on kind of a mossy part of the ramp, and because of that, the wheels lost traction, and once the boat was let go, the truck ended up sliding into the water down the ramp. I remember looking, and basically the only thing that was visible of the truck was my dad's cab. I remember seeing his cooler cup and his cigarettes floating inside of the cab. It was pretty crazy. That was quite a memory, and it also was kind of a testimony to me, because it's a time that my dad, I thought my dad would have lost a gasket because this truck was brand new. He basically just told my friend and I, he said, well, you guys might as well go and do some water skiing, because it's going to be a while before we can get my truck out. In fact, I'll pull in right here because this is actually the spot where you launch the boats. So this will give you a little bit better idea of where this took place. It's a little muddy here, but I don't think it's impassable by any means. But it was right here where the launch was. Gotta keep going. One of the things about driving in mud is you gotta keep your momentum going so you don't get stuck. So that's the area where the Longwells got their truck stuck, and hopefully not a place where we get the rental car stuck. That would not be good to have to require 2 Longwell tows simply for sharing that story, but it just tells you also how much rain they've had here and how quickly the snow has melted, and that's why there's so much flooding and everything in this area. So that was a bit of an adventure, a little off-roading in a Hyundai Elantra, so that was fun. We are coming into Story City, Iowa. This is the town where my Bible camp was located, Riverside Lutheran Bible Camp. So we're going to make our way, making our way in the world to, not that way, banana break. All right, so we're heading over here to what's called Christie Town, which is actually the small town that Riverside Bible Camp is in. So my sister, when she worked here, she used to manage the pool, and it's crazy, as you can see right ahead, they actually have a water slide. That is pretty darn cool. The old lodge is right there, and then that yellow building is where the dining hall's at. And right there you can see the big A-framed chapel, and over here is the old lodge where this is like the staff lodge, and then right here is the prayer chapel where a buddy and I, Eric Porter, we would always go and have what we would call like a spirit feast, where we would just listen to the Bible on cassette at that time, and that was pretty cool, and have our little times in the Lord and in the Word. So right here, it's a little muddy but not too bad. Right here is a brand new retreat center. This is pretty much where all of the kids come when they stay. They stay in this lodge here because everything lower Riverside was in a floodplain, and they got flooded out quite a lot. Oh, so these are cabins too. This is cool. So this is where the cabins are now. They do have that upper retreat center, but they do have these cabins as well, which is pretty cool. Coming up on the right is a retreat center where we would go during the off season, during the winter, and we would kind of camp out as a group, and it was a lot of fun. You're gonna see a corral coming up. This white corral here was actually built by me many moons ago. When I worked maintenance, we put in this fence, this white fence that goes around the horse area. So that's pretty cool. That is our tour of Riverside Bible Camp. All right, made it to town suites. Pretty nice. Pretty nice little room right here. King size bed. It's an odd little spot for the TV, but I guess it's viewable from the seating area. Worth it after a long day of driving. All right, well, good morning, XCD. This morning, it is March 28th, 2019, and we're gonna do our Ames tour. It's my hometown, Ames, Iowa. Just leaving my hotel, staying at the Town Place Suite, it's a Marriott property. Pretty nice, weight room, hot tub, swimming pool. I'm in a room with a full kitchen, so it's very nice. We're gonna start off our tour today by having a food blog, the Grove Cafe, and it's a cafe that basically serves a typical Midwestern kind of a breakfast, but the prices are really great. All right, so we are here at one of the major roads in Ames, Lincoln Way and Duff Avenue. Now, if you do come to Ames and you eat at the Grove, be sure to bring cash, because the Grove only accepts cash. And also, if you want to save a little bit of money, you can park in the back. Parking is free for up to 2 hours. Whereas if you park on Main Street, you have to put money in the meter. Just a little helpful tourist tips for you good folks that are going to make your way to Iowa, and more specifically Ames. And here we are. Well, that was off the hook. Yummy, yummy at the Grove. Enjoyed a pancake, sausage, egg over easy, hash browns with cheese. Can't beat it. Awesome, awesome. So I'm now walking down Main Street here in Ames. straight ahead here is the what is now the Ames City Hall. This was my junior high. Before this was my junior high, this was the original Ames High School. So right here, you can see this says gymnasium. This is actually where I would go and have my dances. It's just odd, it's funny to me that this is actually now a police station, because this was literally the place that I had earth science and algebra. This was right where where I used to have band practice. I used to play in jazz band. At the very top, it says auditorium up there. So this is where we used to have all of our concerts. But now, as you can see, there's a bunch of cop cars parked out in front of the building, because this is now the Ames Police Station. It reminds me of a line in Grosse Point Blank when John Cusack goes back to his hometown and he's looking for the house that he grew up in, and on the location where his house used to be is like a mini mart, and he makes the statement, he goes,
I'm standing where my living room was, and it's not here because my house is gone and it's an Ultimart. You can never go home again, Oatman, but I guess you can shop there.
Well, you can't go home again, but you can shop there. So I don't normally drink full strength sodas. Ever since last October when I lost a bunch of weight, I basically drink Coke Cherry Zero. That's my soda of choice because it has 0 carbs. Well, in Iowa, you gotta have a Pib, because I've looked all over New Mexico and they don't sell these. I'm gonna enjoy me a Mr. Pibb while I am here in the great city of Ames. So this supermarket here, Fairway, is the one that we used to go, we would sneak over at lunch and we would buy sodas. And I could get the Shasta soda for like 27 cents. So if you had $1, you could get a soda for 27 cents. You could get a candy bar, or what was even better is I would buy the bottle Pepsis, and I think I could get they were like 48 cents. And so I could get 2 of those for $1. It's freaking awesome. So when I was growing up, I was very big on alleys. Not like bowling alleys, but these kinds of alleys. Oh, by the way, I don't know which house it is, but Nick Nolte, the actor, actually grew up in Ames. At least for part of his childhood, not all of it. Oh, and just by way of comparison, a single can of Mr. Pibb costs $2.28. So do the math of inflation from about 35 years ago. I'm going to take you on a quick tour of all of the houses that I mowed. So right here, this little greenhouse was Joe and Loretta's house. So that's house number 1. This corner house, and I would mow their house, so that's house number 2. This greenhouse right here is house number 3. And then my house here, house number 4, my dad would pay me like, I don't know, $10. Then I used to mow the neighbor's house number 5. The house number 6 is right here. It's this greenhouse. Mrs. White would mow her front and backyard. And then right here, this white house was Phyllis's house. And she actually paid me the most. I think she paid me $20. My first kiss was with a girl named Holly Bender, and she lived in that house there. I used to walk the girls home from school, and we kissed behind my garage. This yellow house, 2022 Ferndale. This is my old house. This is the house that I grew up in. Just a little 3-bedroom house with a basement. This is where I spent my childhood. I think we moved here right after I was born. Get out of here before somebody starts calling the cops. Like, there's a guy driving around our neighborhood taking a bunch of photos, huh? Okay, so we're here by Fellows Elementary School. Gertrude Fellows Elementary. They've completely revamped this entire building. I used to go to Parks and Rec at this school in the summer, but like I said, all of this is completely different. You can kind of see the Ames High sign right there. Home of the Little Cyclones. And then, of course, the most important building of all in the school is this dome right there. Ames Municipal Pool. Swimming and diving from the age of 5 all the way through high school. Okay, so here's my journey from my house to when I would go to the movie theater. We would take a back way, so we'd walk up this way. There's a little like garage in the back right behind that wash line, and we would sneak back there, and that fence there, that's where we would come out from the other side of that house. And this was our little shortcut to the mall. Right on the corner there, that used to be Hardee's. Kevin would have a plain hamburger, I would have a cheeseburger. Then from there we would walk through the mall and go to the movie theater. Alright, so now we go down the road here to Haley's Pit, because as I was growing up, they were digging this lake out. Big crane would dig pretty much all of my childhood, and they said, yep, someday they're gonna turn this into a big recreational area, and that's exactly what they've done. Ada Hayden Heritage Park, City of Ames. Here we have what used to be the Oaks Golf Course, and I used to work at this course. I was a groundskeeper for the course for a couple of summers, and my dad was an avid golfer at this course. 5 or 6 years ago, the Oaks Golf Course was sold, and they've turned it into large housing. It's a large housing development. There's only a limited number of houses on the course. Right up there where you see that greenhouse used to be the number 7 hole. And that's significant because when my father passed away, we had him cremated, and we took some of his cremains, and my sister and I, we walked up and down this entire course, and we'd also deposited some of my dad's cremains in the number 7 hole, because that's where my dad had gotten a hole-in-one. So that's why it's funny, this house is now built upon the spot where there used to be the number 7 green. My dad's cremains are now intermixed with the soil under their house. As they say, you can't come home, but you can build a house there.